Welcome to the Villa Pride Down Under podcast, an Aston Villa supporters podcast brought to you from all corners of Australia. So today we're going to jump on, myself, Ryan and Tess, and we're going to have a look at the West Ham game last night. We're going to look ahead to the Celtic game, and we're going to discuss the injuries the club seem to be gathering at a worrying pace at the moment. Jump in the live comments will be switched on. Tell us what your thoughts on the game overall were. So, and any input you'd like to put is most welcome on the pod. Tess, Ryan, how are you, boys?
Yeah, good, mate. Very well, thank you. How are you going?
Yeah, I'm very good. First of all, to any of the listeners, I do apologise. I am outside the back of the house because I've kids running amok after 4 days camping in the house. So, if there is any outside noise for this, I do apologise, but it should be okay.
Your place looks like a nice place to drink. Your place looks like a really nice place to have a drink. What's it called there behind you? Can you move your head out of the way a second and let us know what this place is called?
This is my home bar that my brother-in-law built me as a wedding present. He's a cabinet maker and joiner. So it's the name of the bar is Spills because it's Spud and my missus is Tilly, so it's Spud and Tills Spills. So
I love that.
I love
That's
it.
so good. Sorry, it might have been a private thing. I was just wanting you to share where you are because it looks like a really, really good place to have a drink, doesn't it?
No, good. Yeah, I do love it. I probably spend too much time out here, to be honest. But I've got my TV set up to watch the matches and stuff, so it's my little bit of peace. Good morning to Michael Huggins, who's just good morning in the comments. Michael, thanks for tuning in once again, mate. Hope you're keeping well.
Yeah, we've got a few people actually popped in. Josh Danashi's in. He said hello, and Stephen O'Sullivan Real Estate's also joined in via Instagram. I'm just trying to keep an eye. So if you guys see me just looking around, this is all very new to us. And so I'm just trying to make sure that some people can use their platforms to watch on Instagram and some people on X to watch. And also, if you're on YouTube, you can definitely leave your comments as Michael has done there in the chat there. So welcome, everyone.
Boys, we're going to start with the lineup as we usually do, and we'll see where you want to head with it after that. But I think the lineup is an interesting point because for me the lineups are becoming a bit almost too familiar every week, aren't they? But Ryan, what did you think when you seen the lineup come out again?
I was very surprised Marlon wasn't starting, to be honest. I thought Bailey might come out, Marlon in, and you touched on it earlier. There's a lot of injuries at the moment, so. Everything else was as I expected, to be fair. But yeah, I just thought with the way Bailey's been playing, Marlon's been in now training for a couple of weeks, would have been a good chance probably to get him on from the start. And we've got, still got a busy schedule coming up with Champions League, FA Cup and the league. So I thought maybe just a change there would have been good, would have freshened it up a little bit. But yeah, it was nice to see the two new guys on the bench, though, a bit of fresh blood and obviously John McGinn back on the bench as well.
Yeah. It was, at least there was a bit of activity on the bench anyway. But I was kind of a bit surprised myself that John Duran didn't start, to be honest, after Watkins playing a lot of games while Duran was suspended and obviously didn't play much of the last few games either. Tess, were you a bit surprised by that, or did you expect Watkins to start?
Yeah, I kind of expected Watkins to start. I expected the lineup we had. In all honesty, minus Bailey. I was confused by that pick. If I'm being really honest, I thought this was a perfect opportunity to try and bring Donyell Marlin in on that right hand side. Other than that, I wasn't surprised about the selection of the team at all. And it would be nice to see that we are going to start some games with changes. Can I just say though, even though we had that lineup, we talked about the other week where we need to start playing with a bit of zip and a bit of energy. And I think we got that to start the game for sure. So I guess the team selection was right on Emery's behalf, but yeah, I just expected in the team sheet to see maybe Marlon start ahead of Bailey based on form and giving Marlon his debut at Villa Park.
Yeah. I thought it might seem a bit earlier, right now, did you? With Marlon, yeah. He looked to bring a bit of energy, but we kind of started pretty well, Ryan. I was pretty impressed with us for the first 20 minutes. I thought, we looked like we were going to be bringing a bit more energy to the pitch, and weren't looking as structured. We were getting bodies up the field and stuff, but it didn't take very long for it to slow down again. As typical, once we score a goal, we just seem to try and control the games, you know.
It was nice for us to score the early goal for once, though, wasn't it? Get off the mark early. And I agree. I thought the first 20 minutes was very good. I thought Rodgers was finding a lot of good space between their midfield and defence, and Ramsey the same. I thought those two looked particularly dangerous, with Watkins working as well as he does. And, you know, we sort of created quite a few chances early doors, and I thought that goal from Jacob Ramsey was classic Jacob Ramsey, something we haven't seen enough of. You know, lovely interplay with him and Watkins, and then, you know, strong into the box. Just his raw pace and his power just to get past the defence, and, you know, quality finish. We haven't seen enough of it this season, but good signs that he's starting to get some minutes again now and starting to look like his old self. But yeah, first 20 minutes looked good. Early goal. I thought this could be one of them days for us where we sort of really put our foot down, but we just couldn't get our second goal. And I think that really sort of got West Ham's tails up, and we couldn't kill them off that early with plenty of chances. But again, the final ball, and we're just lacking a little bit of quality when it comes to the final pass or the final ball for me. And it's just, yeah, I don't know whether it's a confidence thing or I'm not sure. But a second goal in that first 20 minutes, and I think we would have been away.
Yeah, what do you think, Tess? Do you think it's kind of, I mean, obviously Mings' injury probably, as James has said in the comments there, derailed us a little bit, but we need to be a bit stronger and tougher than that. You can't, like, injuries happen in football. I know Tyrone Mings particularly has had his bad run of luck, but the players need to be able to put that to one side and get on with the job at hand, I feel. You know, like that's, you know, the professional footballers are going to get injuries through games. It's unfortunate as it Mings again, but you've got to be able to decompartmentalize that and put it to the side and win the game. A game you're comfortably in control of, because West Ham couldn't get a foot in the ball for the first 20 minutes test. They looked absolutely all over the place. Like, and I was very disappointed we didn't get a second goal in that 20 minutes, to be honest, where we were hot, because I knew at some point we're going to die off and West Ham are going to get back in it. And we're not killing teams at all, are we? Like, we're either making the job really hard for us by conceding early, or even when we're on top, we're not taking chances. But the biggest problem for me, Tess, is we always seem to concede when the other team get a bit of momentum. Other teams seem to be able to take their moments against us, but we just don't seem to be able to punish all our moments. And I don't know what you thought about that, Tess. Is that something you're seeing yourself? Or
I genuinely, to James's point, I felt like the team lost all confidence when Tyrone Mings got injured. I thought the first 20 minutes, 25 minutes, I thought we were really, really good. I thought I was really pleased with what I was seeing. There was high energy, quick passing, the 1-2 for Jacob Ramsey and Ollie Watkins. That's the kind of Jacob Ramsey I want to see. That's the kind of Jacob Ramsey that used to do that with Grealish in his earlier days. I think they used to have that kind of relationship where they do that 1-2 and Jacob would run on, or Jack would run on, or whoever it may be. I wanted to see that kind of energy, and we did that for 20 minutes. But if you don't take advantage of the play that you have in that moment and kill teams off quite early, because scoring another goal would have probably just left West Ham all over the place. Their confidence would have just dropped, and we were at home. We had the momentum. They would have crumbled more than likely if we had that second goal early in that time, and we didn't do it, and that allowed them to get a bit of momentum, a bit of confidence in their game. All right, yeah, it was a bit scrappy towards the end of the first half, but that's where they wanted us to play, in my opinion. Don't at me about it, but I felt like they wanted to get us into a scrappy game. They wanted to see a lot of bookings and a lot of yellow cards, and they wanted to see people lose their tempers and all that sort of stuff, just to help them with their type of game. And it's not our type of game. We don't play that well, and we're not good at it either. And so they drew us into that kind of horrible battle. We did okay, but we have to kill these teams off early. When you have that momentum, I'm sorry, but you really do. You have to take those chances and you have to put them away. And you have to put teams like that to bed early, because they were just all over the place. They were on the ropes. They were Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. They were, it was all over the place. So that's bad for us, really. I thought we started really well, and I was really excited watching the game, and then yeah, by half time, I was just like, I don't know whether I want to go back to bed or not. So yeah, that that's my thoughts on the first half, to be honest.
Do you know what, though,
That
boys?
isn't it.
So just like looking at the bench, I've always had this thing, like there's two keepers on the bench, right? Mings goes off. Then we have to switch. So Luca Dean goes in to left centre back. And then Maatsen comes on. So you're disrupting both positions there. And, you know, I just can't understand why we wouldn't have like a Sil Swinkles on the bench ready to go. And I know he's got very little experience at the top level, but at some point we got to use these guys. He's 21 now. And there's a lot of defenders in the Premier League centre-backs getting around at that age, isn't there? 19, 20, 21. I just think that's, yeah, I mean, two keepers on the bench and then getting caught out like that is just not a good look for me. And I thought Luca Dean did all right filling in at left centre-back. But again, I don't think Maatsen was that effective when he did come on. And like we've always said on this pod, you don't have to make two changes to accommodate one, really. And then you got a lot of disruption all over the place then. And I just think Jacob Ramsey didn't look that comfortable then defending with Maatsen, and Luca Dean obviously is not a centre-back by trade, and I don't know how much he's played there, but I think he did all right. But yeah, I just can't understand why there wasn't a Sil Swinkles on the bench ready to go on at centre-back.
Luca Dean's done it for us before, though. He's played there before in centre-back, hasn't he? He's played there before in a couple of games, I think. Maybe it might have even been during the pre-season or something, but I remember seeing Luca Dean play in a couple of games where he's had to fill in at centre-back. I'm pretty sure it was this season. It could have been the end of last season, but I'm pretty sure earlier in this season, or maybe it was in the pre-season games. I've seen him play at centre-back before.
I don't think I've seen him play a competitive game at centre-back for Villa.
Maybe, yeah.
I
think he's still in there once or twice when Mings was out and Torres had to go off with injuries and stuff. All right, he has definitely played in there, but I don't think he's ever started there for us. But he's definitely played left centre-back a few times for us.
Yeah, I know he's filled in there for sure.
You know, another thing then as well, like they kind of like we need to box clever, but West Ham, I think, tactically realised very quickly they weren't going to match us in a game of football, so they changed the style of game and they started disrupting our play. And you know, they roped the referee into it. I thought he was awful with the stop-start to the game. It went from this lovely free-flowing game to this mess to watch, like, you know. And it took every bit of enjoyment out of the game. And we're just not clever enough when it comes to these games. We get caught with them all the time. Palace do it to us all the time. Other teams do it to us all the time. And we just, I don't know. Like, I think I'd give West Ham a little bit of credit for that, because they quickly realised they weren't going to match us on the pitch and for tactically in football. So they made a completely different game, and we're just not able for it. Like, it's sad. Like, we're such a soft underbelly of a team always. Like, we will concede goals. We will get involved in scrappy games, and we won't come out on top of them. And it's a worry. And I thought maybe Onana coming in, you know, big strong lad coming in, that would be the difference, and he'd add a bit of steel to us. But he started really well, and Emery just doesn't seem to trust him, and now he's injured, and you're kind of going back to a team like you've a lot of Steven Gerrard's team there still again, like, so. Yeah, you kind of look and think, is Emery actually doing really well with these players, or are we struggling? Like, you know, it's hard to nail down, you know. I'm very disappointed. Like, they don't annoy me too often, Tess, but they really annoyed me last night. Like,
I think anyone that watched that game yesterday, in all honesty, if they had, you know, hand on heart, you watched that game, you would have had nothing but frustration by halftime. It was just one of these days where I just feel like I don't like saying bad things about our club or about our team, because the players have done a lot. You know, the enjoyment that we've had over the last year and a half or whatever it is with this current team. But there has to be time sometimes where you say to yourself, what am I watching? What am I watching? Because there's been consistent in boring football for a little while. And when I say boring, I'm trying to say that we are predictable. Everyone knows how we're going to play. You know, we set up the same way. We don't attack fast. We pass the ball around the box, hoping for one of these small openings. And don't get me wrong, we score goals, and we've done that all the time. But I've noticed that when we are attacking with a bit of pace and we've got a little bit of flair, teams are scared of us and they back off, and that gives us more opportunities to score goals. And we haven't been doing that lately. And defensively this season, we've just not been good either, because where are the clean sheets for the season? We're not really keeping clean sheets this season, and it's been disappointing to see where we are. We're not in a bad place, don't get me wrong, we're not in a bad place, but there is 100% room for improvement, and I think we need to do that for this second part of the season.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, it's kind of like we've said that we've been saying this in nearly every podcast every week, that like we're trying to control games way too much, like, and it's giving people the opportunity to just sit up and set back against us, because we just don't seem we're so much better on transition than we are creating chances, like so.
It just doesn't look like we've got
issue.
a plan B, does it? It doesn't look like we've got any sort of plan B. Like, if we can't break a team down now, we've sort of lost that zip and that pace. And obviously the slow build-up then, I think teams are finding it a lot easier to sort of block and defend against us. And that's kind of what they're doing when, they know Emery's team, like we were saying, is not going to change much, is it? From week to week. It's pretty stock standard what he puts out, and then there's a lack of plan B. And I thought, to be honest with you, in this game, that sort of the second half started, West Ham were on top, and we were sort of just drifting through the game a little bit. But then I thought the subs on 64 minutes, I think it was Duran for Watkins and Marlon for Bale, I thought this is the perfect time for the subs, because we're sort of we're hopeless at the moment. We need something to happen. So I thought the subs were the correct decision. A couple of minutes later, West Ham get their goal. So yeah, we did start off all right though. When Duran and Marlon came on, there was a 5-minute period there where we started to look like we were getting back in and started to create a few more chances, but the goal just took the wind out of our sails then. There was only one team coming home then, wasn't it? And West Ham were looking the more likely. That goal just killed all our momentum, I feel.
If there was a game that I wouldn't have taken Ollie Watkins off, it would have been this one. I felt like he played really well in the first half and parts of the second half before he came off. I thought when it looked like he was running into a corner with nothing to do with the ball, the way that he was holding up the ball and looking for someone and getting somebody else involved in the play was brilliant. Obviously, he's been involved in another goal. So what's that, 100 goal involvements he's been in since he's been at Aston Villa, and he's done an assist again. But I thought he looked really good. I thought he looked really sharp. And this is probably one of those games where, you say, well, do you want to take him off this early in the second half? Like, what is it, 60 odd minutes, 65 minutes around that time when it. And it's one of those days where I was like, oh, maybe we don't take him off, because he looked like he was having a bit of joy, especially when he was like taking the ball down on the left side. So that's one of the games where I thought, why are we taking Ollie off? We probably need him on at the moment. And it feels like we've kind of played John Duran out of form. Like, he was banging form, he gets suspended, and he doesn't come straight back into the team. And I don't know how long it's going to take for his confidence to come back and be involved a bit more. I mean, he did have this really wild shot that he did this sliding tackle for. It's like a sliding tackle shot. I don't see those very often, but he wanted to score a goal, so he went for it. But
he done well to take that out of the feet, man.
I was like, oh, jeez. Just imagine he got that. I would have been singing his praises tonight instead of like saying that maybe he should have stayed on the bench. But yeah, I don't know. I think somebody in the chat said, Michael said, is there possible that it's a mentality thing with our team? Is there a mentality issue within our team, the squad of players? Because in my opinion, I don't think so. I don't think there's a mentality. I think these guys are strong players, and we could go along the lines of they're very, very tired players. They played Champions League recently and all that kind of stuff. But the mentality for me is, I don't think they have a mentality issue. I think when I saw them against Arsenal and they were 2-0 down, and these boys come back to draw the game with Arsenal and then could have possibly won it, I don't think there's a mentality issue with those players. That's just my opinion.
And look, we've come from 2-0 down to beat Everton 3-2 this season. There's been moments though, but there is certain games where I do question a bit of their heart though. I like when teams start getting on top of us and we just start getting slower on the ball and we start misplacing passes. And to be honest, we lack a few leaders, like someone that's just going to say, right, and maybe Emery has to take a little blame for that too. Maybe he's not giving the players enough of a role. Maybe this is how I want you to play, and this is how we're going to play. And if you don't play, you won't be my team, because he doesn't seem to be making chances nor making changes too often. So So maybe that is thing. Sorry there, lads. That is an ice cream truck you can hear in the background because it is 41 degrees here out in Perth today. So.
Melbourne had 42 today.
It is. It is 41 degrees here and it's 41 for the week. So that is an ice cream truck. It will disappear pretty soon. Like,
yeah, no, like I think as well today.
I think Emery does have to. In Queensland was it? And
no,
Emery does okay. Kind of have to. You have to wonder, like we've conceded more goals, I think, in the last 15 minutes than any other team in the league. I'll have to fact check that. It might be just in the top half, but I think it's in the league. That's a fatigue issue. Surely it has to be. Like it has to be an issue with the physical condition of the players because they're playing too many minutes. Like you know. And maybe that is the difference. Maybe that is the difference between Champions League and the Conference League. There was times we could give lads a rest with the conference and still win games last season, but we need to put our best players on the pitch week in, week out now in the league and in the Premier League. And it's just kind of disappointing when you see how like say Bournemouth, like the energy they play with. I know they're not contending with Europe, but they're Bournemouth, they're at it from minute one, and they're getting results from it, and we have the players to play like that, but we're not playing like that, and it's just. I don't know. It's been. I don't want to sound too negative, but when you're getting up, I get up and same as yourself, lads, 2 a.m. in the morning to watch games and stuff. Yeah. Some of them games are a hard slog to watch, and that didn't happen to me at all last year. I was bouncing out of the bed to watch games last year, and some of these games have been slow and trepid. I don't know how you feel.
Oh, that was the perfect example of what you're just talking about. Was it that second half? It was sort of. It wasn't much from Villa, and West Ham were just on top, weren't they? And we made Wan-Bissaka look like prime Cafu down the right, and he was just caused us all sorts of issues down there. And for me, I agree. I just think, I'm not sure, I can't pinpoint it, but there's definitely some fragile stuff going on with this squad now. The conceding early and late goals, and then just not imposing ourselves on games and dominating when we should. I'm not sure. It looks like a couple of players there devoid of confidence, and we know the likes of Leon Bailey just haven't hit the heights of last season. So it has something like you said, some of the games have been a long slog, and we've got games coming up thick and fast, and the squad's looking thin. You look at that bench today, and like you said, there's a couple of options on there, but there's talk now of obviously Buendia leaving on loan. You'd hope they've got some people lined up to come in because we need them. We've got that many competitions to go through and that many games to go through. We can't go through with what we've got at the moment.
I mean, we've got Olsen on the bench.
Yeah, stick him up top. Tess actually one of the, I don't know how you feel, but one of the things that disappointed me most about the current injuries is because with every passing injury, it pushes that interest in the FA Cup in Emery and his squad further down the pecking order. And that becomes less important to them every week that we pick up a new injury, because and I don't want that to be less important to them. Like the FA Cup, it's a genuine chance for us to go for a trophy. It's great finishing fourth, but eventually you want to be kind of watching us playing semi-finals and finals again, And I'm not complaining. Of course, I want to be in the Champions League, but it's we're putting it all in at the moment into finishing in the top four. We're already in the Champions League. Let's go in there and give it a right go. I was so disappointed, even against Monaco and then second half against West Ham. And I don't want to keep sounding negative, but Tess, what do you think? Do you think that now suddenly the FA Cup game against Spurs will become second rate? It won't matter because he needs to keep players fit because we're not getting the bodies in the door. The bodies are leaving faster than they're coming in.
Yeah, it's an interesting, really, on what we're going to do here, because I think if you ask any of the supporters at the moment, they want to be in the FA Cup and they want to try and win that trophy if possible, and they want to go as far as we can in the Champions League. If you think about our chances, a lot of people, the bookies, will say that we've got no chance of winning the Champions League, but we might have some chance of winning the FA Cup. I think we should be putting a strong team in for the FA Cup. I genuinely think we should try to win a trophy, and if we can this season, because we've kind of kicked aside the Carabao Cup, haven't we? We kind of kicked that away, and it's not an important trophy. But the FA Cup is a very important trophy for me. It's one of the best trophies in the world, and we need to be trying to go for it. The problem we have is that we don't have the players, and if we put strong teams out, if they get injuries, then we're even short for all the other campaigns, Premier League and the Champions League. This is a question for Unai and not for me. Maybe Rhino, because sometimes Rhino gives us some advice in our WhatsApp chat, and what Rhino will let us know what decisions should be made. So maybe I might give this one to Rhino, because I genuinely, I would want us to play a really strong team in the FA Cup. But,
man, I'm a traditionalist, always have been. I still value the League Cup. I know you sort of said the League Cup doesn't mean much to me. It still means a great deal. Like, I want to watch Villa in finals, and I want to see Villa lifting trophies. And for me, if that's the FA Cup or League Cup, that's what I want. And yeah, I think, you know, we've struggled to get through the third round, fourth round for a number of years now. I want to see a strong team out. I know we're fighting on all fronts. To be honest with you, I think fourth place in the league is gone. I can't see us getting fourth place. I just feel like there's teams in and around there now that are probably in a better position, stronger squad, not competing on as many fronts as what we are. You know, obviously a European place for me again this season, an FA Cup win, I'd take that all day. But yeah, the Cups for me are still very important. I'm very traditional on that front, and you know, always disappointed when we go out to the League Cup and FA Cup so early. And you know, we have in the past put out weaker teams, and yeah, I don't love it. I think we've got to go all out for it, and I think there's good opportunities there, especially with the way how inconsistent a lot of the traditional, you know, the teams who are winning these cups recently. Like, you look at Man City, their form this year, they've been up and down. Arsenal, Chelsea. I feel like this is a season where anyone can beat anyone, especially in the cup as well, a one-off game. So I think, you know, if you're going to have a crack at it, I think this is a perfect year for it. Yeah, so for me, I wouldn't mind seeing a strong team out for the FA Cup game.
Oh, I definitely want to see a strong team, but I think Emery is going to become less relevant to Emery because of the injuries now. He's not going to focus on that because the FA Cup isn't going to mean to him what means to us. You know, he's going to be wanting back in Europe again, and you know, if that's going to be at all cost to him. But of course, fifth place could be enough. The UK, the Premier League is way ahead on the coefficient this year, so it's looking very likely that fifth place will get you in. But you know, for me, the FA Cup is so important. But it's lost its way. Like I've said to you many times, like I genuinely believe that the FA Cup should be getting the fourth spot in the Champions League, not fourth place. Like, winning an FA Cup should be a way bigger achievement than finishing fourth in the league, but it's never going to be that way because it's the Premier League get to fourth place, it's not the FA, so they're never going to give up that golden carrot. But look what it's done to rejuvenate the Europa League, giving them a Champions League place for winning it. They would do the same to the FA Cup. It would give teams like Villa, Spurs, Everton, you know, Newcastle, something serious fight like to get into that top four, and it would make the competition really good. And you might have a surprise winner here and there that'll set them up. Imagine a Bournemouth winning an FA Cup and getting into the Champions League, and the finances that would set them up for the future. And it would make the league better overall because you'd be giving more teams a chance to get in. But it's never going to happen. So, but we can't. There isn't really too much more we can really say about the West Ham game now. I think it's
no, that's it. But I was just going to say, like in the FA Cup, you know, got Spurs in that. People are going to laugh at us if we're losing to a relegation fighting team, won't they? Like, they're going to be laughing at us if we lose to Spurs and stuff. Like, I'm watching Spurs and they're dreadful at the moment. Like,
I don't think he lasts much longer, does he, Ange? I think it's very hard to see. I wouldn't be surprised in the next few days if they call it and they get someone else is in charge by the time they play us in the cup. Then
I don't. I know it's not a Spurs podcast, but I feel bad for them because I don't think it's his fault. Like I just genuinely don't like. He's having trouble with injuries, like every other club is, but he's also having trouble with recruitment. So he got Johan Lange. Congratulations.
I just want to touch off a couple of things James Wood has said there, and he made some good points. He said he thinks we're going to win something under Unai, and I think that is a very good comment because James, I think we're going to have to win something under Unai because it's going to be a long time before we have a manager of this quality again. So if we don't win anything under him, then it's going to be a big chance gone. And your second point about us saying in Europe, we say that in this podcast all the time, James. If we finished sixth, won an FA Cup and finished sixth or seventh and got back into Europe again, that would be fantastic. You can't drop on it again. But if we go strong in the Champions League and then we finish sixth and get into the Europa next year, I'm going to be happy with that. Like, yeah. Then we'll have consistently made Europe 3 years in a row. And let's be honest, there's a big Unai Emery's the king of the Europa League. Like, there's a good chance you're going to go deep into that competition. Like, you're going to go deep in. Right now, the one thing that's been kind of touted, the journalist asked Emery a question the other day in the build-up to the Champions League about how Dortmund made it to the final last year, and they were very unfancied at the time, and they actually had a poor enough league campaign and scraped in the end. And Unai said, well, you have to take it round by round. Like, he's hardly... You don't think he thinks he can get into the deeper rounds, yeah? No.
I think he does. I think deep down his pedigree and his history in European competition, I think he believes he can take Villa, deep into the competition. I think he'll be worried at the moment though what he's seen in the last few games. Like, I think, obviously the Monaco game, I would expect a reaction for the West Ham game. We didn't get one. I think his last few presses have been quite telling, haven't they, about the mentality, and he's sort of been letting a few things out there that, not naming any names, is he? But he's sort of saying that he's not very happy. So I think he still believes, though. I think he knows what he's got there and what he's done with this squad in the past and what he can get out of them.
Yeah.
And if he gets a couple of signings now before the end of the window, he can get them going. Look, it's tough. It's the Champions League. You look at the teams that are in there, and the draw is going to be insane with the amount of teams that are sitting quite low. So yeah, I think he believes he can go deep in the comp. I'm not sure about winning it, but he'll believe he can go deep.
I mean, he's got.
And Tess, that brings us nicely on to the midweek game against Celtic. It's obviously going to be a huge game now. So, what's your thoughts heading into this game? Because this
massive game,
yeah,
huge. Like it's game of all games for me at the moment. I think we are a good enough side to beat Celtic. I think we are. I think we're a good enough side to beat Celtic. The problem is as I mentioned in a previous pod, is this is a different type of game. This is a English Scotland. This is a game of passion. This is going to be, they're going to bring their supporters down, and they are going to be extremely passionate and probably extremely loud. And we've got our Villa fans who will be there, and Villa Park will be rocking. It's different to, say, playing Monaco, and it's a little bit different to sort of playing Bayern Munich. These are teams in the British Isles, right? So a lot of passion, and you want to try and make sure that the football dominates the game and not the passionate parts of it. I don't know if games are like that anymore. I think Man United played Rangers. I think played Rangers just recently, and it didn't seem to me like it had that kind of energy that those types of games used to have. But we need to be careful that we don't take this game for granted. We really need to play our football against Celtic, because if we do and we play our football and not their game, then I think we can win the game, and that'll put us in a really good position, hopefully to get in that top 8, which I think is still mathematically possible at the moment. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. They've got some really decent players, but so do we, and they are fighters. When I watched their last game, I haven't watched their full games, but I watched some highlights. They look like they're fighters and doing really well. So we'll see what happens.
Celtic are going to hand us nothing right now. It's not going to be an easy game. They'll come down and they'll give absolutely everything. And look, as James says in the comments there, come on lads, look what you and I did for Villarreal. Well, I have full faith in Emery. Of course I do, to get us deep down. And if anyone can pull out a tactical job and get us deep into the Champions League, it's him. Just what I'm seeing on the pitch recently, I think if we come up against a really good side, they're going to batter us. And that's not being negative or rough. Just we need to find a way. But we do seem to bring our best performances up against the teams that are that come out and play a bit against us. We seem to be better against them because the space is there to exploit. They're not sitting the 10 men behind us. But Celtic are going to come out and try and hurt us. Test. I can't see Celtic coming in sticking 10 men behind the ball. Brendan Rodgers doesn't really play like that. Do you think that's going to suit us? That Celtic are going to come out and have a go, and that we have the players to exploit the space?
Well, I think both teams have got to go for it, haven't they? So we both need to win, and I think that hopefully plays into our hands a little bit if we turn up and play the way we can. I'd be fancying, the likes of Rodgers and Watkins to have a good game at home against Celtic. The atmosphere will be unreal. Be a tough game, but I think if Brendan Rodgers is going for it, could expose our defensive frailties. We are, who plays at centre back for this game now? Tyrone Mings. The diagnosis looked a little bit better after the game, didn't it? But we're still, with Carlos going out the door, we're desperately short. So that's going to be interesting. I think Celtic will look at that and think we can get at them, and there's goals to be had against Villa. And I think a lot of teams are probably thinking that way at the moment. But on the other foot, then I think we're starting to see Jacob Ramsey playing to a bit of form, and as Mark Smith said there, that McGinn's back, got some minutes today. He'll be buzzing and bouncing to try and get a start in this game. But yeah, we've definitely got the players who can hurt Celtic, and if we come with our best, I think it'll be enough on the night to beat Celtic, and hopefully a couple of results go our way and we can sneak into that top 8.
The importance of getting that top 8 can't be underestimated, Tess, can it? Like when you look at some of the teams that are going to be in that playoff. For me, just James Woods asking who would we drop McGinn for? I'd drop McGinn for Bailey, because Malin obviously can't play in this game till the next round. So I'd put McGinn on the right hand side there. You're going to get way more from him from a defensive point of view for Celtic's counter-attacks, and he also will bring the energy that will hurt the team. And I think McGinn has to come back in for this game, because Celtic are going to come. They're going to kick lads. They're going to play football. They're going to be high energy. They're going to press us. You need a leader out there, and I think. But Tess, going into that top 8, you like, it's vital, isn't it? Because you look at those teams that are kind of hovering there 9 to 24, and there's going to be some big ties in that playoff, and we could do without playing 10 group stage games, let's be honest, going into a knockout, because that's going to give us a hectic January and February, which with injuries at the moment is the last thing we need is an extra game, isn't it? Extra 2 games.
Yeah, we don't want any extra games, really. And especially how thin the squad is at the moment with the injuries that we've got. I know Unai never actually complains, does he? He never complains about, we've got injuries and we've got this and that. He just tends to just go, this is what we've got, and this is how we're going to play, and this is what we'll do. But for me, as a supporter watching, we don't want to play any more games. Otherwise, we just come razor thin, and then what happens to the rest of the season? Does it just filter out? Other hand, this game, vital. Really, really is. And I said a few podcasts ago, if we can make it into that top 8, delighted for great season. And then whatever else we do after that, great season.
Bonus.
Really enjoyed being part of the Champions League. It's a privilege to be in that Champions League, and we've done really, really well this season to be in it. We've deserved to be there, and if we can just sneak into that top 8, anything that we do after that, I don't care. Like, we've had a fantastic season, but Unai Emery will secretly be thinking, we can do something special in this tournament. He will secretly be thinking that, provided that we can have a good squad of players who are fit and ready to go without all these injuries to key players.
Are you concerned about the defensive cover now going into the next week or two, Ryan? Because how quickly can they get someone in the door?
Yeah, I am concerned. I think... I think there's obviously links to Juan Foyth, who Unai knows very well from Villarreal, but he typically played right back for him. I know he can probably go in as a centre back, but probably a lot of trust there, isn't it? With he knows what he can get from him. But yeah, I am concerned, and I think you're looking now at, do they start giving Sil Swinkle some game time? Can they get someone in quick enough? There's a lot of paperwork and a lot of stuff to get through for a transfer. Big games coming up, and I've no doubt Sil Swinkles has probably been earmarked for a loan. They probably need to hold on to him for a little bit now. They got to hold on to him now. I've seen a lot of stuff on socials about why did we let Carlos go, and I think that's been in the works for a long time. It looks, looking at it from afar, it looks like there's some issues going on there, and I think when Emery sort of saying as much in some of his press conferences that I think Carlos wanted out and, didn't fit in well for what Villa wanted. And if you can get that kind of money in January for him, then I think they had to do it. It's just a shame that the Loic Bade transfer obviously fell apart. And I think that was obviously the first choice to come in. We're just going to be busy now until the end of the window. But there's a few positions now, isn't there, to sort of fill and try and get some quality in the door. Never easy in January, though. Never easy, because the price comes at a premium. Other clubs need to have their replacements lined up as well. There's a lot of moving parts. But defensively, I am worried. I'm hoping the Tyrone Mings injury is a matter of, a couple of weeks, and that sort of saves us. But yeah, short term is going to be a little bit light on.
I don't know
Has
how
he done
true
an
it is.
sorry,
but I did read something to do with Carlos's defensive input. Like, apparently, like, he was in the bottom half of all defenders for tackles and headering and stuff. Like, I read that somewhere today, that he was really low, and I think it was from one of the reliable sources that you find around on X, but I'll have to find it to dig it out. And I'll share it with you guys in the WhatsApp group. But apparently, like, his defensive statistics were really, really poor for us in terms of the amount of tackles that he made when he played games, and the amount of headers and stuff that he was winning when he was in the team. And
he's a big unit too. Like, he should be ball dominant, shouldn't he, in the air?
Well, that's what I mean. And there were times when I'm like, we're conceding goals when he was playing most games, and the ball's going over the top of him, and he's not heading nothing out. Like, there was a lot of those times that was conceding goals, and I'm kind of remembering it now. And that's what kind of, when you were talking about we losing him, I think there's probably other defenders out there we can get. In terms of Loic Bade, I think he probably thought to himself, look, I'm playing week in, week out here. I don't want to go and fight for a place. I'm happy here. The weather's really good here. It's nice. And the project that they're doing, they're paying me well enough. So, I've only just recently signed a contract. I don't really need to go to play in Birmingham, where it's freezing at the moment and it's cold, and there's no sunshine here and stuff, and you don't have siestas and all that kind of stuff. But he would have been a really, really good addition to our squad, even if he had to fight for his place, because I'm pretty sure he would have had a lot of game time. Coming up, and yeah, obviously Champions League and FA Cup and Premier League, there's loads of games for him to play. So yeah, that was a bit of a shame, but I don't know where we go now with our defensive signings.
Leave us know in the comments there, lads. Leave us know in the comments there, lads, who you think is going to be the centre-back pairing against Celtic, because the options are limited. Because, sorry, Tess, I was just going to say about the Instagram post that Tyrone Mings put on after the game. He said, I've had a lot of I've had some bad knee injuries. This isn't one of them. So that's a positive.
Yeah, he'll be back for Celtic.
Hopefully.
I'm just saying. I don't know. I haven't spoken to the medical staff or anything like that. But
what do you know, Tess? What do you know, man?
ITK. I'm just hoping he'll be back for the Celtic game. Hey, perfect game for him. We need him. And can we just talk about? Sorry, I know we've gone from the West Ham game, haven't we? But Konza was really, really good too. By the way, I thought Konza was fantastic in defence. He's playing back at centre back, and he's starting to gain that centre back momentum again. I'm really happy for Konza. So he'll be a big one for us against Celtic.
Yeah, hopefully Konza. It's just Konza's perfect for the Celtic game, because Celtic will play a lot of football on the ground, and Konza's so good at a one-on-one defending. So it's important that he's kept at centre back now, which I think obviously he will be. I would know that's a very good point, Tess. Yeah, it's good to see him starting to get back, and it must have been very very frustrating from he got into the England team at centre back, and then he started playing right back for us. So it was it must have been relatively disappointing for him. But look, we know how good Konza is going to be. If you leave him play centre back, and obviously he's got a lot of familiarity there with Mings as well. So hopefully Mings can just come back. So you want to kind of have a look at the lineup, what we think is going to be against Celtic, like maybe on the basis that Mings probably will play by the sounds of it, if he's from his Instagram post. So maybe you can let us know. Yeah. Do you reckon it'll be Konza, Mings, Cash and Digne, Rhino back for?
Yeah, I think so. I think if we can get Mings back in, that would be ideal. I can't see too many changes from the starting line at the West Ham really at the moment. I just feel like without Marlon being available, it kind of limits us a little bit in that forward area. McGinn will come in for Bailey. Sorry, as we discussed, that's what I'd like to see as well. I think Bailey drops out, McGinn comes in. I would probably go with the rest is the same then, Ramsey, Watkins, McGinn, Rogers, and then, Kamara and Tielemans in there. So I'm just praying. I'm sweating on Tyrone Mings now, but Tess has given me the okay, so I'm feeling a bit more comfortable now. Tess and his medical knowledge.
Yeah, he's picked.
Yeah. I probably think if Mings doesn't make it, Bogard will probably play centre back, I would say. Sorry, Tess, I was just going to say, I think if Mings doesn't make it, I think Bogard will probably play a start there.
Yeah, I was literally going to say...
You'd expect Bogard to come in there.
Yeah, and it would surprise me a lot if he didn't do that. It would surprise me a lot if he didn't do that and put Luca Dean in that back four for this particular game. We need Luca Dean to play in his own position, and I reckon Lamar Bogard could probably do a job. I think he's a player that if he was playing in Scotland and went to Celtic, he's somebody who would probably be able to start games for Celtic. He's a good player. He's a good young player. Doesn't get very many minutes, and he did a really good job when he came on the other week playing in midfield. And I think he's done an all right job when he played at right back. I wouldn't be too scared to play him there if we had to. He's got more experience than any of the other centre backs, hasn't he? Really, so. I think that would be a good option. Yeah.
You don't think there's any way Duran comes in for Watkins for this game?
Not for me, not at the moment. I think they'll probably stick with Watkins, and then, like you say, probably swap during the game. But I think Watkins starts for me. I really want to see Duran hit some form again, though. Like you say, that red card at Newcastle's really just stopped him in his tracks a bit, hasn't he? Missing the 3 games, he was on a roll, and then sort of getting a bit part, coming on for Watkins, and I'd love to see him get back into a bit of form. But for me, probably Ollie Watkins to start that one, just because of the nature of the game and the way Watkins, his work rate, his pressure, and just his all-round game. I just feel like he's just that all-round striker, isn't he? I think Duran probably still a little bit raw in a lot of facets, which we know, but I just think for this game at home, Watkins starts for me.
Impact substitution for me. Duran. I mean, he's got to start games somewhere again, but this is a really, really important game. This is a really, really important game, and you really have to go with the tried and trusted. And Ollie deserves that, really, to start this game. He was one of the better players against West Ham. He's scoring goals again. He seems sharp when he's playing, so I would go with Watkins to start. Other than that, the strongest team possible. And I think you mentioned that you would drop Bailey for McGinn. Yeah, I'd probably do the same. Bring the captain back in and see if he can add something to it. He would need to see McGinn needs to make sure that when he comes on, he's pulling people around and doing that leadership role, because we really, really need that. And he'll also have to make sure that he's keeping his head in this type of game, because I know what it means to him to be playing against a Scottish team at Aston Villa as well. So, other than that, I can't really see many changes. I can't see Marlon starting the game because he's not allowed, and I can't see the new right back starting because he doesn't know what our system is yet. And sometimes it takes a few games or a few weeks for them to start even integrating and getting the subs place. Other than that, I think Moreno was the last person that kind of was automatically put straight in, wasn't he, when he came in? But then usually players come in and they take a little bit of time to settle in and learn the structure of the team and stuff. So I can't see any changes at the back there at all at this time as well.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, Tess. Yeah, that's some very good points there. Like he's not really known for throwing lads straight in, is he? Like, before I get your predictions, lads, James Wood asked an interesting question here in the group. He was saying, does anyone think that Duran's head's been turned by the Saudi links?
It is a lot of noise around him again, isn't it? Not just Saudi, some other big clubs, PSG, Real Madrid. So I wouldn't be surprised. You saw the stuff that was going on in the summer with West Ham, and I just think we spoke about it early in the season that, he's probably got people around him advising him probably to chase some of this money, probably for their own benefit. And yeah, I could see it distracting him, given his age and the way he is, and not getting as many minutes as what he would like at Villa. We know that he wants to be playing. Yeah, it's definitely a factor for me. I think all this noise, every window, there's noise around him. There's bids coming in. West Ham were in for him again. So, yeah, wouldn't be surprised if it is affecting him.
I don't know. I don't know about that. Like, I think Emery's been very clever I think in just this last press conference, he came out and said that he wants John Duran to stay there. In the press conference before that, he mentioned that he wants Ollie and John Duran to stay at the club for a long time. He wants to be at the club for a long time. And I think he's trying to do his best to make sure John Duran is happy and feels part of the, we talked about players that need an arm around their shoulder, and I think John Duran is one of those. And he seems to have responded to Emery recently in the last few months, especially when he started to get his starts. He was earning his starts because he came off the bench and was scoring goals. He got his starts. He scored goals. He got sent off. I still have questions about that. He got sent off and then didn't get to come back into the team and start again. That was disappointing for me a little bit because I felt like he was the player in form. And because he got sent off, he was gone for 3 matches. He had earned the right to start again. But in that time, Ollie was playing really well as well. He started to get his form back, didn't he, Ollie? He knew he didn't have John Duran breathing down his neck. He's got 3 games or so to come back and start picking up his form. But during that time, he was still missing opportunities to score goals, quite easy ones as well, where you think to yourself, if John Duran was playing, he might have cracked that in the top corner. So I guess my point is John Duran, I think, will wait until the end of this season. I think he still feels like he's got something to play in this team at the moment. I think he's enjoying the fact that we're in the Champions League and he's getting minutes in the Champions League. And if you want to go and sign for a very big team, and when I say that, I'm talking about the Real Madrids of this world, the big names, the Bayern Munichs of this world. You want to perform in the Champions League, don't you? You want to show them that you can perform at the highest level against the elite teams in the Champions League. And if you can do that and they coming after you, you're going to get that money anyway. You're going to get that big money. You're going to get that big contract and you're going to go to one of these clubs and play for them. If he's considering going to the Saudi League, sorry, I'm rambling here, but if he's considering going to the Saudi League, I don't think he's serious about his football career. At his age, he's 21 years old. Why would you even be thinking about going to Saudi Arabia to play football if you want to have a big career in football and you want to be remembered and you want to create a legacy for yourself? You're not going to go to Saudi Arabia and play in the Saudi League. I'm sorry. I think he's committed to Villa at least for this season. And if after the season he wants to leave, I think by that time, the scouting team, Monchi, Damien will go out and find players to replace him who have probably got a bit more experience than he is, a bit more disciplined than he is, and try to build the team that way. That's just my opinion on it. That was a ramble on it. That was a ramble.
You're all good test, but I think the same. I thought the same with Carlos. I think with Duran, they probably have a figure they're not going to sell below once that figure is hit. Mm-hmm. And they probably will accept it, That's probably just how it's going to be. It was the same with Carlos. Obviously, Fulham were in for him, and they didn't want to sign him. They didn't want to let him go, and they didn't want to pay the extra money for him. And Villa were like, "No, we're not going unless we get what we want from him." So I think it'll be the same for John Duran. Of course,
I don't know where you're getting the top strikers from these days. Like, there isn't a lot around for small money, is there? Like,
no,
you sell him for 60 million.
No. And that's it. That's why they tied him to. Yeah, it's very hard to replace. But I suppose in the world of PSR, for them to look at that and think, right, that's 72. If we have 100 million from, let's say, from Saudi, that's like 72 million clear profit on him. Like, it's massive for the books, but. That's the annoying thing. And there's no point in keeping an unhappy player. I mean, I don't think he's going to want to stay too long not playing minutes. He's good enough to play for a team. And, yeah, he'll do very well somewhere. I hope that's with us. Because I love watching him. And that's what I want from my striker. I want my striker to take shots. And, I really like Wally Watkins, and he does very well, and he plays, and he contributes massively to the team. But I also like when John Duran comes on, he's direct. And if there's a shot on, he'll shoot. There's no second guessing himself. That's just my opinion. And obviously, Mark Smith was asking us here, just before we wrap up, lads, our thoughts on Rodgers. World beater on his day, but has he been off a bit recently? That's what do you reckon?
I don't put it just down to Rodgers, to be honest with you. I put it down to the whole team. He's just look. Rodgers has just come from and started playing for us last season, right? And he came from the Championship, and all of a sudden, this season, he is probably second name on a team sheet, third name on the team sheet after you got Martinez and then and Tielemans, and then you got Rodgers, right? You're thinking that these are the names. He's escalated like so quickly. He's just gone from 0 to 100 real quickly, and all of a sudden, like we rely on him a lot, and it gets frustrating because I think he's tired. I think that he's one of those players that has the energy to run all game, but to get the very best out of him, like we did at the beginning of the season, he needs a rest. He needs to have a game out here and there so that he can refresh and because sometimes he just looks tired. I don't think I don't think it's anything other than fatigue. Like even some of the balls that he does to bring in Ollie Watkins and to other players in the game, especially with John Duran as well. There's not many players that are doing that like he can in the Premier League. But I think I honestly, genuinely think there's just fatigue. He is a bit out of form. I think it's fatigue, and he probably needs a rest. But then, who do you play in his position that can run with it? My opinion, I think that sometimes Jacob Ramsey's wasted on the wide side. I think that Jacob Ramsey potentially could do that job if he were to give Morgan Rodgers a rest, for example, like for a game against, whoever, like your medium team. I think you could probably put JJ in that number 10 position to play. I think he could do it. Because McGinn's done it a few times, but I'm not sure. I think you need McGinn elsewhere to contribute to the team. So yeah,
he's more tenacious. Tenacious. Whereas Rodgers is just pure ball carrier, but he does look tired. And I'd love to know. Actually, I'm going to check it up how many kilometers he's actually carried the ball all this season, because I'd say it's quite high. Like, and I think your point there about Ramsey coming in and being the man to possibly give Rodgers a rest at some point. I think if you have McGinn fit there, obviously Malin now is going to be involved, and JJ gets up to speed. There's going to be opportunities to give Rodgers a well-earned rest. And I think we've said on the podcast before, Ryan, that they're almost too reliant on him, like on a young lad, like, and that's very difficult too, like he's not going to be able to do it every week out. Teams know now that we're looking for him,
Especially this season where we've got other players who are badly out of form as well, not contributing going forwards. It has fallen on Rodgers a lot, and for such a young guy in his first, full season in the Premier League, a lot of expectation and a heavy workload. I think, he's a quality player. He's going to be a very good player for us for a long time. But Tess makes some really good points. Who comes in for him at the moment? And we've had Buendia sort of just get back in to some sort of fitness and starting to drift into games here and there, but it looks like he's on his way out. I just think, creatively, we haven't been at our best as a team. And I think your teams have sort of sussed us out a little bit with going through Rodgers a lot, and Bailey's output hasn't been great. Ramsey's working his way in. So, it's definitely, as going back to Smithy's comment, I think he is a world beater on his day, and we'll definitely get back to that, but definitely needs a rest and some time out. I agree. I think if Ramsey can get, he's back to full fitness, he's definitely got those characteristics, that ball carrying, and that speed to be able to do that role.
Lads, we've been on for nearly an hour, and it's there's been nearly 50 people on watching us. What I heard, there's been plenty of interaction, and we thank you all for your comments, because it's so good to have the live comments coming in there and giving us content as we go, and it makes things easier for us and more enjoyable for us as well. So, Tess, have you anything to say just before we wrap up here?
Yeah, just for everyone that's tuned in today, thank you very much. It means a lot to us that you come in and listen to us talk. The good thing is now, though, that we're doing these live streams so that you can interact with us a bit more, and we can actually directly respond to your comments or your questions. So keep them coming in. We're really grateful. There was one comment that I saved from James a bit earlier, and I wanted to just show it. But also, yeah, I stand corrected. Kamara is first team name on the team sheet. Like, he's unbelievable. Martinez and Kamara. So I'll accept that. And I said Tielemans and Rodgers. I'll accept that from James. But this one was a really good comment that I really enjoyed. Boys, I wish you all could have experienced the atmosphere against Bayern. Will live long in the memory. I mean, that would have been incredible. I watched it on the TV over here, and that is one of the games that I would have liked to have seen live. And so for those of you that got to see that game at Villa Park, it looked electric. The supporters were amazing. It looked wild. Like, I wish we could have done that. Any of you boys wish you could have gone?
Oh, I'm sick. I'm not going to be at the Celtic game this week. I still can't believe I'm not flying back for it. Just, I should never have got married in November. I should have pushed that back for another year. Right, lads. Rhino, anything to say just quickly before we wrap up, Matt?
Nah, just thanks for everyone who's got in the chats and is interacting with us. It does make the pod a different dynamic for us being, live now. So I really enjoyed it. And yeah, if everyone wants to get in touch with us on socials, we're at Villa Pride Down Under on X, and then at Pride Down Under Instagram. They're on the ticker bars there. But yeah, if you get in touch with us on socials as well throughout the week, we really want to grow that engagement. And if you can like and subscribe to the pod as well, it really helps us out. And if you can share it with friends, family, anyone who will listen to us three, that would be much appreciated.
Thanks, guys. And we look forward to the game against Celtic during the week. Up the Villa.
Up the Villa.
Up the Villa. Oh, this is where I've got to end it, right?